Welcome back to Kamen Rider Review, episode 105. Here we're discussing 6 episodes of Kamen Rider Black, episodes 35 to 40. 35 mostly put is the end of Beligia, who've been there since episode, 16. Yeah, this is his end here. Yeah, it's a big, humongous, big, huge thing with him. Where with this episode, they're basically reviving. Shadow Moon finally gets revived in this episode. Yes, though in this episode it is mostly put in a way. In this episode, we left off last time, where we have Black and Kiko, where they fall off a cliff, but they do survive. Kiko does see Black transfer back into his human form. Kotaro, yes. He sees him transform into that. Yeah, he sees him transform into that. And she finds out that he's Kamen Rider, which makes her the second person ever in the series who's not one of the bad guys, second ally to find out he's Black, and she becomes sort of a minor player in his in this stuff that he does here. So he tries to explain it, but she already knew, and the fact he can heal really quickly. So then, of course, what's the ingenious idea to wake up Shadow, because I can't use life force from her? Why? Basically using the High Priest's own Earth crystals. They're gems. Earth, water, and I think it's Earth, Heaven, and Water, I believe it is. So they combine it, and that's how they wake up Shadow Moon. So the High Priests are basically suffering very badly here. So, yeah, we finally see Shadow Moon here, which, if you watch Masked Rider, you've seen this guy before. Now, I have theorized that the reason why that the whole Shadow Moon plot basically took so freaking long was because, this is my personal theory, I thought it was because maybe the actor who plays him was subject to a contract dispute. Well, given the fact how nice that suit looks, well, here's another theory. What could possibly be the reason why this Shadow Moon plot took so long? The suit probably was delayed. Yes, the suit probably took a long time to work on. Either they start working on it during the series and it took a long time, or it was presumably something else. I don't really know exactly what was the reason why it was delayed. Yeah, it's something in particular that, from what I can tell anyways, is not actually been explained. Yeah, I don't really know exactly the reason why it was delayed. It just was. Yeah, so finally, and we see a thing. You see him move, and then you see him walk occasionally. Apparently, he's got this thing in his boots, where makes a sound whenever he walks. He's got these little extra antennas. What these things are for, I don't know. Now, yes, this is Black's adopted brother, Nidiko, who had been captured, who's actually been in the custody of Gorham since the flashback in episode 2. Actually, most likely been since episode 1. And he's been in hibernation since episode 3. And finally, 33 episodes after he's put in hibernation, she's finally released. Finally. And, he proclaimed himself the new Creation King. And, of course, he has a new throne. He tells the mutants to go back to darkness until needed. Okay, interesting. So, the priests themselves, they transform into Grand Mutants. This happens in the very next episode, 37. So, yeah. They become Grand Mutants. Okay. You might be curious, though. What do these Grand Mutants look like? For Dorm, the leader of the priest. He, of course, looks like this. That's him. Yep. As for Bodrum, that's what he looks like, a cat monster. And as for High Priestess Bushum, she looks like this. Yep, that's her. And at first, for some reason, the camera, when they show up from behind, it's like basically they don't want to show off her in the suit. Like, either that this is a conscious on the actress, doesn't want to show off her rear end, or something else in particular. Yeah, and with the exception of episode 40, the mutants do play a role. The Grand Mutants do play. Now, the Grand Mutants, their job is simply put this. There's no longer High Priest, they're no longer the main villain. The Giant Forces series right now, it's all Shadow Moon. They're basically reduced to being, well, the next, to be a step just below Shadow Moon. Basically, basically they serve as his generals. And then by 37, we introduce his handmaidens, Mara and Kira. And they are pretty much here for pretty much the whole series. I think it was 37, wasn't it? Okay, no. So basically, the whole thing, I mean, is that comes in episode 37. I know at some point they introduced the handmaid. I think it may have been in episode 36. Wasn't 36? No. I know at some point he introduced his handmaid. They don't really do anything here. Not really. Okay, here are the handmaids. There's Mara and Kira. They first appeared in episode 38, and well, that's them. Yeah, so Shadow Moon created his own handmaidens. Oh, and I think it's in episode 37, I believe it is, where Kiko and Kanzami go back to the old residence, which was last seen back in episode 2. And it's still perfectly fine. The furniture is covered with cloth for dusting. So they get in there, and all of a sudden they see Shadow Moon. They think it's, of course, Kiko thinks it's her brother. He's like, I have forgotten that name. And apparently he still feels the same for them as he did before. Like, okay, so he has some emotion with him. But apparently he doesn't like love. I'm not sure exactly why the heck it's like this for, but it is. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the whole thing with the handmaidens, they do practically nothing at this point in time. Nope. So, that's better. Yes. All 38 is the final appearance of Rosugabo Sakataya, who starts the EP party. Yep, it's his last appearance in the series. This is technically his first time he's been in the series since episode... Let's see. How long ago was his last appearance? His last appearance was back at episode number 8. And that was just after the financier appeared. That was his last appearance in the series as well. Mostly put whenever he's been brought up in the series, it's always been his picture. Now, could it be that the reason why that he has not made physical appearance in episode 7? Now, in the case of the Mad Doctor, at least he's dead. But could it be the actor possibly died? And that's the reason why they never brought the guy back in? No. It says here, from the information I see here, he apparently died in 95. So, that can't be it. So as for why this guy never appeared again, aside from, like, cameos, it says his last appearance was in Riddle, the EP Party Boy Squad. Yeah, it's weird. This actor only appears for like 2 episodes. Like, if you think about it, the guy only appeared technically in person for 3 episodes. And that was it. Appeared in Flashback in episode 10. Mostly put, he was appeared in picture since then. Yeah. As for Byakuya, well, he's killed off episode 35, Battle of Moon, where he took back the Satan Sword, and then he proceeds, pretty much he kills him right on the spot. Yep. So, it's like basically this guy was brought in, it's like he was woken up, because this is my personal theory when it comes to this character. That he was brought in to buy time for the Shadow Moons to be made. Because they probably wanted to bring in it by episode 17, but it wasn't ready yet. That's probably what happened. It probably wasn't ready. I mean, it's a nice looking suit. I mean, there probably was problems with the suit. That probably was the reason why. That or something else. As for now, that could be the reason why. But why at episode 34 I found this with it? That's a completely unknown question there. He's definitely a cool character per se, but sadly put, it seems like though only a handful of episodes have him actually do anything when he showed up on screen. And by 35, he's like killed off by his like replacement, Shadow Moon, who is like the main villain of the series at this point in time up until our episode 49, because that's the one that had the true villain show up. Alright, so let's see. We had the EP part in episode 38. 39 mostly. Now, in the case 37, right after the Grand Mutants basically first show up, they decided to do it. Now, this also was the first episode not to involve any mutants in the series, where they just have the Grand Mutants just go out and attack the Diet, and basically cause open warfare with Kamen Black, and Black basically causes them retreat. And after that, they do a little bit here and there. Mostly put, it's the former priestess. Yeah. Bashum. She is really the only person who does anything in these episodes. Heck, Bahrum, he does some stuff, but Darum, he does nothing. It's like, once he got turned into basically a Grand Mutant, he, aside from the episode where he practically became like a proper villain, like a driving force in an episode, he just does nothing. Like, what's the point of this character sticking around for? I have no idea. It's weird. Yeah. So, pretty much like, you can think of basically like 34 to about 37 is a continuing saga. 38 is basically like a standalone episode that loosely connects what happened in previous 3 episodes. 39 is mostly put a filler. It doesn't really resolve anything per se. It just brings in this possible idol who's a mutant in the episode. It's like there's no juice there per se with this episode. Not really. 40 is kind of interesting because basically I like this episode because they bring an actor from Super Sentai. Who is he, you might ask? Well, the actor Okay. Do you want to know his name? The episode's called The Karate Master Secret. This guy's name is Masashi Ishibashi. Now, those of you who watch series like Jack, Battlefield J, and Turtle Ranger, and of course, when he popped up in the Gecko Range movie, you probably recognize his characters in these shows. Boss Iron Claw, Commander Header, and Professor Louder, who really did much anything at all. He played like a mogul who's basically a movie person, like a businessman. Though that was actually his last Sentai role to date. Now, sadly put, in the case of Kamen Rider, this would be his last time he appeared in Kamen Rider. Mostly put, in a way, here's the strange thing about this guy when it comes to Kamen Rider. He appeared as Combat Man number 3 in episode number 3 of the original Kamen Rider series, which that aired back in 1971. So he wasn't even 40 yet at that point. He was roughly like 37 when he started this series. And then he appeared for the first 2 episodes of Super 1, which that aired in 1980. And then he appears in this episode, and he just stops appearing in Kamen Rider. So basically, like in the case of his Sentai stuff, I am effectively done with his time in this franchise. This is another franchise for this actor who's really good at what he does. It's nice to see him play a non-villain for a change. Yeah, like, because Jack's done, like I mentioned. So you would think, okay, what about the Metal Heroes franchise? Well, he appeared for 1 episode of that show. He played a double man in episode 3 of Gavin. And that's been pretty much it for him. So it comes to the big 3 of Tokusatsu series: Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and now, well, Metal Heroes, obviously. Well, first it was Metal Heroes, obviously, was first, and it was Super Sentai. Now it's basically Kamen Rider's turn. With that, pretty much, I am mostly done with this guy. Like, I watched all of his appearances he made in the most popular shows, mostly. Though I haven't seen all of his stuff per se, but the guy is one damn good actor. I kind of wish he would have done more stuff, but sadly put, the guy passed away about 5 years ago. Yep. And the Monsters episode is a salamander. Episode 40. And it's almost like I think initially they wanted to use a chameleon monster because the monster goes invisible, because the salamanders don't do that. So they probably were. My guess is they probably planned to use that monster, but the prices are a little more threatening. So they decided to just go ahead and use a salamander, and we see it basically eat two plant workers. Yeah, swallow them whole. Which you never see, you hardly ever see any monsters do this, swallow them whole, because these monsters used to be human a lot of the time. Yeah. Though this is a mutant, not a cyborg. Yep. But I do enjoy these episodes, what they are. And, well, with the very next review, it's going to be basically, well, here's simply put basically what's going to happen next. Next will be Comic Corner. And then it's going to be a review for a Doctor Who audio drama, which I'll talk about that soon. But first, I had to use the restroom, and be right back. Okay, next video. Bye.